Thank you very much. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, and in a spirit of reconciliation, pay my respects to elders past and present. Thank you for the welcome to country. Thank you so much to the Chancellor, to the Vice-Chancellor and President, to the Deputy Chancellor, to the whole Adelaide University community for this very great honour that you pay me today. I am delighted to be here and to join with you in this graduation ceremony, which I know marks an incredibly important stage in the life of so many of the people I see sitting before me now. I first gave a speech in this hall the best part of 40 years ago. Hopefully you're all now thinking to yourself, she must have come here for a school function. Unfortunately, that's not true. I gave a speech here almost 40 years ago as an undergraduate who was invited to speak at a graduation ceremony. Once again, a very great honour. I was completely terrified to address an audience of this size back then. And a photograph was taken that day, which was published, of this terrified young woman standing alongside the then Chancellor John Bray and the then Vice-Chancellor Don Strang, who looked for all the world like jailers who had turned up from the Middle Ages to take me into custody as I had this terrified expression on my face. All of these years later, I come before you slightly less worried about public speaking than I was then, and I am very grateful that I've joined the community in wearing the full academic dress. Thank you for that. When I think back on my years here at Adelaide University, it is always with a sense of having won life's lottery, that to be here was to really be dealt a handful of aces in life. I never took the privilege of being here for granted. And I never took it for granted because in so many ways it was an unexpected privilege. When my family migrated here from Wales in 1966, we didn't know anything about Adelaide. My parents were simply picking a place name off a map. They'd met a Welsh couple who lived here, and that was good enough for them. They came to Adelaide. And they then picked the suburb in which they would buy our family home and we would live, once again with very little knowledge of Adelaide's demographics. Fortunately for me, for my sister Alison, who is here today, for both of us, the schools that we went to in that local community were great schools. We just went to the local public schools literally at the end of our road, and they were fantastic schools. And such fantastic schools that they enabled me to get the kind of mark in matriculation, as it was then called, to come here to Adelaide University to study law and to study arts. And I've reflected deeply over my lifetime, what if any of those things had been different? What if our parents had decided not to migrate? What if they'd picked a different Australian city? What if they'd picked a different suburb and the schools had not been great schools? What life would I have lived then? So already when I came here as an undergraduate, I had that sense of privilege of having been very lucky in life. But that didn't fix the fear. It was a scary place to be, particularly scary when your family didn't have any long-term tradition of university education. We couldn't ask our parents about it. They hadn't finished secondary school. We couldn't ask any of our extended family about it because they all lived in Wales and in any event were not the kind of people who had gone to university. And so this was a voyage of discovery. And it taught me that, coming here, being somewhat scared and daunted by being here, it taught me about what it was to step forward as an adult, what it was to find self-confidence, what it was to navigate a new environment. And those skills that I learned here at Adelaide University have been with me across my topsy-turvy life and have stood me in good stead every step of the way. And beyond that sense of maturing self-confidence, what Adelaide University gave me was the discovery of my sense of purpose, what I was here on this earth for, what it was that was going to matter to me across my lifetime. Now, I'm sure my law lecturers would now like to hear me say my sense of purpose was found in the law library looking up arcane cases, but that wasn't the truth. I'm sure that my economics lecturers would like to hear me say, as I puzzled over statistics and econometrics, I found a sense of purpose, but that wasn't the truth either. I found my sense of purpose here at Adelaide University by becoming involved in the activities of university life, most particularly lifting my voice in an education funding campaign that happened in the second year of my university career. So by the time I'd worked out how not to get lost on the campus, I was then getting swept up in this campaign. And I was swept up in that campaign because from my background, I believed it was wrong that a government would cut back education in a way which would prejudice the ability of ordinary people to go, people just like me. And being involved in that protest campaign, as humble as it was, is the thing that really shaped every part of my destiny post-Adelaide University. I came to understand that if you are a citizen who raises your voice, who gets involved in something that motivates you and ultimately comes to have meaning for others, that you can make a difference. You can change the nation. Back then, some university students working with some academics, did change the nation. We got the government to change its mind about some of the cutbacks that it was planning. And from there, I moved on into ever more, interesting, varied, different public policy activities, firstly here at Adelaide University, and then ultimately on the national stage through the Australian Union of Students. And that is what propelled me onto the life that saw me become firstly Deputy Prime Minister and then Prime Minister. So I owe a great debt of gratitude to this institution. And I hope for those of you who are graduating today that this great place has helped shape your sense of purpose too, that you leave here clearer about what it is you want to do and what contribution you want to make to our nation and to our world in the future. If you haven't found that here, then it's never too late. There's always life's opportunities and life's moments to reflect deeply on what you want your life to count for. But as you do that, as you move from this place, I know this day and the achievement that this day marks in your life will stay with you. In my life now, I travel to a lot of education institutions, but not many of them are as glamorous as this hall at the University of Adelaide. My life takes me to schools in developing countries where we are still trying to deal with the challenge that in our world today, 260 million children of school age who should be in a classroom aren't. And if nothing changes, they'll never see the inside of a classroom. They'll never get an education. So, whilst we live in a wonderful, prosperous, peaceful place, we should never forget that there are those around the world for whom the most basic things, getting to finish primary school, getting to go to secondary school, getting to finish secondary school, let alone go on to university, are still beyond their reach, not through any fault of their own, but because our world doesn't today afford them that basic entitlement, that basic right, that basic justice. So much to do to change the outlook in our world so that every child is valued, every child gets the kind of chance that I got, going to the schools that I went to and then getting to come here. It's in that spirit that, with a great sense of pleasure, I accept this honorary doctorate. I'm very pleased and proud to be maintaining my connection to this university. It happens now when I give a public lecture here once a year. It happens when I have the opportunity to speak in front of classes each semester. It happens because interns join my office and make a contribution and do some research work, and it's always a pleasure to have them. It happens too because in my family life, my niece, Dr. Jenna Malone, is at this university at the Waite Agricultural Research Institute. And I've said it before, but let me embarrass her one more time by saying it again. Towards even the end of his life, my father would say, when asked to reflect on our family and its journey, he would say, well, Julia's done very well for herself, but Jenna, she's the smart one because she got the doctorate. Thank you for at least affording me some equivalence in that. Thank you so much.